Okay, so there should be a little button on the top of your screen just to say now that it's recording. Okay, let's just go cracking. So my name is Laura. Welcome to Data Collection and Marketing. And I'm the chapter lead for Academy Soul. Let me just pop that over here. And just to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. So first, I would like to talk about what kind of information is actually of interest in marketing and what are some things you may want to achieve. It's not always about money. There are some other goals as well in marketing. And I will also talk about some APIs, some kind of tools that you can use to collect data. Just to introduce myself and to give you a rationale for this meetup as well. So my name is Laura, and I live in Seoul in Korea. I work as a webtoon marketer. That's my day job, and then coding is more of a hobby for me. And what I wanted to find out with this meetup, it really is more of a personal project because I work in marketing, but then there's also a development team, right? But we're quite separate. I do not actually know what they do. I do not know how they collect the data, which is why it was a personal project for me of personal interest. And I wanted to go into what do advertising platforms or media platforms actually do, how do they do it technically, and what kinds of data do they gather of us as consumers? Because sometimes when I'm developing my campaigns, I will be looking at, for example, audience segments or certain goals, and I will think to myself, oh, it's actually quite intrusive, and how do these platforms actually get that data? And yeah, let's jump straight in. So the reason why we need to collect data in marketing, specifically online marketing, is basically you have a budget. You do not have infinite amounts of money, right? And so when you show your ads in your ad campaigns to people, you pay for something called impressions. So these many people will look at your ads, and that's what you're getting charged for typically. Or also these many people click. Okay, so it's actually not just a view, it's kind of like a click, and then you get charged for that. And what you want to do is you want to have a product that is actually being shown to people who will be interested in the product that you have. You don't want to show the product to people who are not interested and who will never be interested in it. That's a really big waste of money. And well, I'm going to date myself a little bit. So if you're a little bit, maybe you're my age, maybe a bit older, you might remember in the 90s when you used to look at your post box, you would get lots and lots of flyers every day, right? So people would just shove these marketing flyers into your physical inbox, and it would actually be a waste of money because so many people wouldn't be interested in these products, right? And so in online marketing, you're kind of trying to move away from that. You're really trying to show your product to people who are actually interested. And that information is useful for people in sales and marketing like myself. But even on a sort of bigger front, it can be used in customer service. It can even be used, for example, in strategy and sort of content strategy as well. For example, if you notice that your product is more popular with people of a certain age, or if it's only popular with men as opposed to women, is it maybe popular with people with certain interests, then you can use that information and, for example, have more content that goes in a certain direction. So let's say, for example, you are Netflix and you notice that, oh, all of a sudden there is a lot of interest in documentaries. And of course, you're going to buy more content that is documentaries. Now, let's talk about some of the goals that you can actually have. And generally speaking, you can have these monetary goals, and you can also have these non-monetary goals. So let's say you are a subscription-based entity, you can have subscriptions, you can have one-off payments on your regular stock, you can have, for example, you have something you want to get rid of, you can have certain sale campaigns, you can focus on just having new customers. So let's say, for example, you really want to push into a new market, you really want to focus on having people getting something for the first time. Or, for example, let's say you notice that you have a lot of people where maybe they will click on your ad, but they don't actually buy the first time around. That is something called retargeting, where you have people who have shown some kind of interest, who have maybe signed up for something, but they didn't buy at that time, so you retarget them. Or for example, let's say you already have a big customer base and you want to have a steady stream of income. You can maybe have a goal of creating repeat purchases, or maybe let's say you have a subscription model, you want to keep people paying for that subscription. Some other non-monetary goals maybe might be brand awareness. So you want to have extra traffic to your website or your app, and you just want people to really, if they think of a certain product category, they want to think of your brand. Or maybe you want somebody to sign up for a newsletter, maybe you want to sign up for a free trial, or maybe just to create a free account. Like, for example, if you think of Codecademy, right, there is the option of having a free trial before you get the full subscription. Maybe you want to have more engagement. So let's say, for example, you notice that a lot of people sign up for your service, but then they just kind of sits around. It just doesn't do anything, and then people just stop using your service because they don't actually find anything useful in it. Maybe you want to create engagement. Maybe you had a certain negative public relations situation and you want to boost public opinion of your brand or your product. Or maybe you just really want to get rid of competition. Maybe you want to become an authority on a certain product niche or range. So these are all kind of marketing goals that you might have, and they're all quite different, right? So for that, you need quite different data in that sense. Now, okay, so what kind of information do you actually want in marketing? So, on a more sort of general way, you may want to get into demographics. So that is the sex, the age, the education level, the income level, the location, maybe also what language they speak. That's also quite of interest. What is maybe their family or their living situation? Then what interests do they have? What kind of hobbies maybe? Then what kind of psychographics? So psychographics is something like, is this person a risk taker, or is it somebody who likes to play quite safe? Is it somebody who has a lot of different interests, or is it maybe somebody who has very few, very focused interests in general? And then maybe also lifestyle. So for example, is this somebody who goes surfing? Is it somebody who engages in certain activities, maybe only at certain times per year, that sort of thing? And then you can also have user lifecycle data or metadata. So for example, you can extract data such as what device was being used. Was it Android? Was it iOS, that Apple thing? Was it accessed from mobile PC? Was it maybe from internet TV? Then also you want to find out what platform exactly was it from. So for example, when you advertise on Meta, so what's formerly known on Facebook, it's not just Meta, right? They also have Instagram and Messenger. So kind of like, what kind of sub-channel are you getting it from? Then you want to find out, maybe did this person access via a share, or was it kind of shared content? Did they maybe share the ad that they were looking at? How do they engage? How do they interact with your advertising? So for example, after this person clicked on your ad, on your banner online, did they sign up? Did they view a lot of pages? Did they register for a free trial? And then what's the outcome at the end? Did they make a purchase, or are they, did they maybe put in a basket and then maybe abandon that basket? All kinds of things, right? So that is generally information that you can be interested in as a marketer. And in online marketing, you can get this from the platform itself. I'll share in a moment what some of these platforms might be. Sometimes there is something called customer management software. You can look at your own data if you have a website. Maybe you have surveys. Sometimes there are chatbots, right? So these days, when you get online, there are a lot of chatbots, and then, yeah, you can just look at what do people actually ask, what do they look for, what do they want. Then there was something called online tracking pixels. There were also something called cookies. I'm sure you've heard of them. And yeah, social media in general, you can look at what are people talking about. And specifically about pixels, right? I was always curious, what does that actually mean? And so what it is literally something called like a little transparent image, dimensions being 1 by 1 pixel, so really teeny tiny, and it's embedded in a website. And what a pixel does is it monitors interactions with content and sends that data back to advertising platforms. I think especially on Facebook, that is quite a common way that you're being tracked. They have a lot of integration with pixels. And the way they look, for example, can be like that. I looked up a couple of examples. And this is more like HTML, and this is more like a JavaScript pixel down here. And I actually had a look because I was curious. I had a look at Codecademy's website. I am not 100% sure, but it looks like they also use tracking pixels, which would make sense just because most websites actually track. So when I went on Codecademy, I found this little guy here. It could be that, maybe it's not. Now, just to kind of look at general APIs. So APIs are kind of like a middleman. It's kind of like you and a platform, and these APIs, they help you collect marketing data. So in the case of Meta, you can have something called Graph API, Insights API. You can have Snapchat marketing APIs. There are X ads, so Twitter, former Twitter. There are Amazon ads, LinkedIn ads, Criteo. Criteo is, I think, kind of like Twitter in Japan. There are Pinterest ads and even something called Yahoo Gemini. So all kinds of APIs that you can access to collect that data. And obviously, I'm not going to be able to talk all of those at once. It's supposed to be kind of like a short sort of high-level meetup. And the one that I looked at for today is, I want to say, probably the biggest of them all, which is the Google Analytics API. And that helps you collect data for your marketing campaigns. And when I looked up the documentation, it's available for PHP, JavaScript, and Java, and also Python. And it looks like Google Analytics is currently being phased out. However, there is something called Google Analytics 4, which is currently being implemented. And in my case, I just picked the language that I'm more comfortable with, which in my case is Python. And yeah, to be honest, it's quite, pretty much like a regular API. I'll show you in a minute. So you sign up, you create a little client secret, and you install using pip pretty much. So let's have a look. Okay, so you go onto Google Analytics, you install it, and you say, yeah, okay, I agree to the license agreements. And yeah, okay, you've set it up, you download it with a private key, it's JSON, okay. Then you do that, and you got all your little client secrets that you need. Here, for example, the client email, that's quite pertinent because you're going to use that email to add that as a user on the Google Analytics platform online on the website, which you do like so. For me, in my case, it's just a little bit tricky because I don't have a business. I just use my private Google account to set it all up. So, of course, it's going to look quite different when you actually have a business. It's going to look, yeah, different. So you do that. And then you set the credentials as your environment variable. Okay. Then you're supposed to, it actually says that on the Google website, you need to have a virtual environment. You do that. And then you download your Google Analytics data client library. So once you've done that, and then you can actually run you can run an API call starting with that. So that's kind of what it looks like. Again, for me, it doesn't really do anything because I don't have campaigns running. I don't have a credit card. I don't have a business registered, but that's basically what it is. And that's how it collects data for you in the end. Yeah. Now, just to list my sources as well. So I've got Google, which is just the documentation, and I kind of went from there. Then I looked up some data on just data collection in general, which I found helpful. And then I also went more into tracking pixels because I found that quite interesting for me personally. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Let me stop recording and let me have a look at the chat. Just one sec.